One. Everyone's going on. Welcome to a very special interview, the first one of 2020. Very excited. Been trying to get Sinvicta on for a couple weeks. He's a busy man, but we've schedules finally aligned, and we're bringing on to the show for the first time Sinvicta. He's been on YouTube for a very long time, on Twitch, and just want to get to know him and his background story and his journey to a major accomplishment that he recently hit a few months ago. Sinvicta, what's going on, man?
Hey Dan, what's up, man? Yeah, sorry it took so long for me to align here. I'm honored to be the first of 2020, man. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're happy to have you here, and I wanted to kind of jump right into it and kind of maybe work backwards. But you had a major milestone on YouTube, and I don't put a ton of credence, on milestones, but I just feel like it's just such a big one when you hit 100K on YouTube. Because I know you've been working at it for a while. Can you tell us like what that meant to actually hit that marker?
It was honestly mind blowing. After doing it for so long, like seeing it hit something, actually achieve something that was meaningful it was all surreal until I got like the play button and I got the letter from Susan. Then that's when it all kind of hit me. It's like, man, I've been doing this for a long time, and that's it's not something that a lot of people get a chance to hit. So it was exciting. And my mom is extremely supportive. She went absolutely hysterical. She was so happy. She got the letter and the play button framed and everything. I mean, it's a beautiful piece that she put together. So it was like the culmination of everything. Like, kind of was like, hey, I finally did. I've achieved something that I'm really, really proud of, and I'm usually not one to like self gloss.
Yeah.
But that one was one of the few times where I kind of let myself relax and just kind of enjoy the moment, sort of a thing, and then get right back to work like a day later. But it was honestly like it was awesome. I mean, I couldn't. It's hard to describe. It was surreal.
When did you start to see like, all right, hey, someone tipped their cap, but it's like it's happening? Because there's got to be a moment in time when you're like, all right, hey, you start to project a little bit numbers wise. I don't know if you check whatever that website is. It's the Burgundy one. What's it?
Social Blade.
Yeah, Social Blade. Like, was there a moment where you're like, man, this is like, I see this is probably gonna happen?
There wasn't that, because I never really paid too much attention to the total sub numbers. I knew that we were getting close, but it was actually Twitter who someone was like the 100,006th overall sub, and they tweeted at me, and I was like, oh man, that like it happened today. But of course, you can't always go off by that, because the numbers are going to be a little bit, there's going to be a little variance in people's numbers, what they see on the screen, what YouTube actually registers. But after I saw that tweet, I went to the dashboard and looked at the official like analytics for it. And it was like, yeah, it crossed like while I was asleep in the morning. So that's, I didn't think when it finally happened, I didn't think that it was going to be that day. I knew that I was going to be somewhere close, but it kind of was a little bit of a surprise. So that made it a little bit cooler, because I wasn't like expecting it, and I never expect anything numbers wise. So it was just crazy. But I'm proud of it though.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things you said, hey, you enjoyed the moment, you took a second and enjoyed the moment, and then you got back to work. And I want to double back to that. And you said get back to work. And I know, because you and I, we talk a couple times a year, but I always keep an eye on your channel and check in. And like, you're always working and putting out videos. Like, can you take us back to like the beginning on what made you start a YouTube channel, and roughly, I mean, you don't have to give us the date, but like the year or month when you did?
I don't remember when I officially like said, okay, I'm going to do this full time, because obviously you don't ever go into new media thinking that in my opinion anyway, the wrong attitude to do new media is, this is going to be my career, I'm going to make lots of money. I did it as just kind of like a side thing, and it stemmed from if you want to get back to the real origin story. I left the city that I used to live in to take care of my dad. He was getting neck and spinal surgery, so I ended up moving down to Houston so I could take care of him for a little bit. And then when he was going to get better, I was going to move up to Austin, and I was originally going to try to be a firefighter.
Oh.
And I at the time I was still huge into WoW. I've been playing World of Warcraft since beta of 2003 or 2004.
Alliance or Horde?
Alliance. I always play
Oh,
Alliance.
let's go. What was your main?
My very first character, my beta and launch character was a Night Elf Rogue, and then I eventually started doing PvP videos as a Night Elf Warrior.
Okay.
Which was like insane to hear of, because I only play protection, so I always was playing. I had a character named Lauder, and he started off as my bank alt, and I'm not going to get into his details, but I just like, I like playing a tank, and I like PvPing, so I was like, screw it, I'm just going to play as prot. And then I started recording videos when I started. I discovered warcraftmovies.com, and I saw like people putting all these insane effects and stuff. I was like, oh man, like that's pretty cool. I want to learn how to video edit. So I taught myself just looking up tutorials and just kind of messing around with Sony Vegas. And
Real quick,
I started making.
If you had to guess context wise, when do you think that was? If you really had to guess like a year and say, hey, this is when
2010.
Okay, so 2010. Okay.
Yeah, 2010 is when I started. That's when I put out my very first ever trailer for a WoW video, and I started getting some decent hits and some criticism for, like, hey, you should do this to edit better, blah blah blah. And I started incorporating. I'm really music centric, so I started to like sync up like the audio with the sound, with the songs and stuff. I was trying to stay away from songs of the popular time back in 2010 that other people were using, and use more metal. And I was syncing up like big kills for like huge like crescendos in the music and whatnot, and just to time it all right. And I really got obsessed with like making it seem like almost like a music video. And I started to do this thing where I was going to condense down, instead of having like a 30-40 minute long huge WoW PvP video that no one's going to watch. I was like, well, I'm going to try to break it down into almost like a show, like I'm going to do like an episodic release. And I called it the Word of Law. And it started to really pick up, because I was getting I don't know, like 50,000-60,000 views within the first day of the video going out, and then it would just progressively grow.
And prior to that, just for context, like your videos before you took this pivot, like of the 40-50 minute, or do you never put out a 40-50?
I'd never put out anything other than the first PvP video.
So your first PvP video was essentially, I mean, for a brand new channel, that's a grand slam.
Pretty much, yeah. When the trailer didn't do too well, because I used way too many flashes in it, because
okay.
like it looked like a terrible like anime movie or music video. Like, I mean, I used flashes for everything. I'd link it, but like it would straight up give somebody a stroke out there. But I mean, the owner of Warcraft Movies at the time, a guy by the name of Uzbeki, he contacted me because he liked the idea of someone doing episodic releases. He's like, hey, so I'll work out a deal. We're not going to pay you anything, but if you put out episodes like this and they keep doing well, we will feature you on the front page every time that you put out an episode. Just let me know, and we can just let me know when like you're about to have another one, and we'll schedule it, and we'll have you on the top rotation. So
that had to feel good. I mean, would you remember getting that email and be like, wow, is this real? Or what was your reaction to that?
Yeah, it was a DM actually on Warcraft Movies, and I was like, oh man, like the owner of the site is contacting me. So I knew I was doing something right. And like, that's the beginning of me figuring out that people, the more easy that content is digestible from a time length standpoint, the more likely it is for people to start watching and keep watching it. So I would limit my videos to either 1 or 2 songs maximum, and I would try to make it into an event. Like, there's a one of the more famous episodes was episode 9, where I used a song by Pendulum, and it's called The Tempest. And what I did was I actually watched live performances of Pendulum making like playing the song. And they've got this huge LED screen in the background that shows just parts of the lyrics flash forward, and it kind of like zooms in and stuff. So I was like, it'd be really cool if I started to incorporate the band's personalities and their and what they do for live, to live events, to make it seem like it's more than just a dude putting music to WoW PvP clips and trying to make himself look cool, and that really set the foundation for everything else. Because eventually what happened, I was completely broke And in 2012, in 2011, really, I was like, I had the brokest I've ever been in my entire life. I had to pay for a sandwich, and I didn't have enough money in my bank account. I had to actually go out in my car and like comb through everything to get enough change, like loose change out of it, just to pay for this. And the guy who works at the Subway I still go to, he ended up saying don't worry about it, because he saw me like paying in all quarters and dimes and pennies and stuff. So that was the point. I was like, all right, I have to get a job. I wasn't planning on being here for that long, but I was still taking care of my dad.
Did you ever, when you hit, let's call that, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but call like your rock bottom, at least financially.
Yeah.
Did you think
totally,
about stopping YouTube, or what was your, like, you're at a fork in the road? What did you decide at that moment? Like, did you consider
at the time,
quitting?
I was only creating content for Warcraft movies, so I wasn't even thinking about YouTube.
Oh, you were just putting them up on that website. So that wasn't even, your trailer wasn't on YouTube either. It was on WoW Movies.
I had I was mirroring them on YouTube,
okay,
but they were getting all copyright flagged and stuff, which is I knew, but
yeah.
I never planned on YouTube being a thing. That was like something that was secondary to me. I was like, oh man, I'm like, maybe I'll get a sponsor from Blizzard or something one day. Of course, just all pipe dream stuff, you know. And it's so funny to think about that now in retrospect, to be like how ridiculous that sounds to even hope. But I mean, back then, let's be honest, YouTube's not what it is today. You know, anyone back then, it was sort of like the Wild West, where you could see people just getting famous for doing everything. And I never wanted to be famous, and I'm still not famous. But I wanted to put it up there so people can watch it on their mobile devices. And I was like, yeah, it's cool, whatever. I don't care about copyright strikes. But in 2011, that was the brokest I've been, definitely rock bottom financially. Mm-hmm. And anyway,
what did you decide to do?
Well, I knew I had to get a job, and there was a local IT repair office down here looking for a tech. And I've been building computers all my life. I've learned everything from watching my dad work on stuff, and it, you know, it was stuff that I've always done. I've always built my own computer. So I was like, sure, that, like, maybe that's what I'm meant to do, is be an IT tech. So I went, I applied. They had already had someone in mind to replace the guy who was leaving. But I said, well, you know, I'm willing to sit here and learn the process and stuff. Like, do you mind if I just shadow you guys here? I wasn't pushy, but I was like, I wanted to show initiative. You know, I wanted to show, like, I'm motivated to work here. And ultimately, the owner gave me a test. He was like, okay, we screwed up this machine. It's your job to fix it. And I got everything right, except for they purposely like jerry rigged one of the jumpers on one of the hard drives to something different, and that was something I never experienced before. But I you know, I fly through everything else. So I got that job. I ended up becoming the manager of the place, and I worked there for 2 years. And
it's from like 2011 to 2013.
2012 to 2014 ish is when I eventually quit. And
what made you quit?
During all that, that's back in StarCraft 2's heyday, and I've always been a huge StarCraft fan. And there's a guy on YouTube who you probably are aware of. His name is Husky.
Mm-hmm.
I was a huge fan. Me and my best friend we religiously watched MLG, all of the NASLs for StarCraft, and I mean Home Story Cup. I mean, Home Story Cup wasn't even a thing, but
you're deep into the StarCraft competitive scene.
And that stemmed from me meeting a guy by the name of Total Biscuit back in 2010. I was one of the guests that they did for the very first ever Shoutcraft. It was a guy by the name of Emperor, also known as Dave. He and John had an idea of setting up a weekly or bi-weekly series where they were going to be doing StarCraft shout matches, like showcase matches and stuff. That ended up getting me excited about looking up StarCraft content. So that's how I discovered Husky, and that's also the first time I ever met John TB.
Yeah, how did you meet him? I mean, it's like not a lot of people have had a chance to meet him or know him, but I know you're in that category. But how did you remember how the first meeting got set up?
Yeah, it was through Dave. I had known Dave. I was a regular listener of his. He ran a podcast called The Emperor's Court a long time ago. Back on WoW Radio, and I was like, oh my god, they have a video game radio show. Like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. And he was an entertaining guy. He was kind of edgy, but it was just it was neat to listen to someone even just talk about World of Warcraft on the internet. Back then podcasting wasn't really that much of a thing yet. And he knew me as a regular listener of the show, and he emailed me. He said, "Hey, I know that you like StarCraft. Would you be willing to come on the microphone and play against somebody? We're kind of like developing a pilot show." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, dude. Like, that sounds cool." I was happy just to even talk to the guy.
Yeah.
And TB was the other guy. They had met each other through working at WoW Radio at the time. And we jumped on Ventrilo, and I met TB. I was like, I've got this really loud, somewhat braggadocious British guy, just telling me, how making sure that my audio is balanced and tell me not to scream or anything. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm not a screamer or anything like that. So that's how I met TB. But flash forward to wrap everything up, because I can ramble on and on about those olden days, man. I met Husky in, ironically, Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Mm-hmm.
We had just, by happenstance, we rolled on the same launch server, and I discovered that secondarily through one of his StarCraft videos. He was like, "Yeah, I'm on the server Cloud. It was Cloud Kick or something like that, or Cloud Burst or something." And I was like, "Oh my god! Like, I'm on Husky's Star Wars server. That's crazy." So I sent the Whisper. I still have a screenshot of it as well, because I was like, "Oh my god, I'm talking to Husky." I sent him a Whisper, said, "Hey man, like, I heard you're setting up a guild for the Husketeers. Like, I'd love to join." And he added me. Eventually, I rose. I ended up becoming one of, like, the senior members to help run the clan, because obviously Husky couldn't do it because he's so busy with StarCraft. But he and I always played a game called Hutball, which is a mini game in the Old Republic.
Yeah, I remember that. It was like almost in like it was not like 3-6. I remember there's like 3 tiers, and yeah, okay, anyways, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, it's like almost like rugby.
Yeah.
Star Wars rugby. It was a lot of fun, and he and I and another mutual friend of ours named Jason, we'd stay up for hours after hours just playing Hutball. I started one day Husky mentioned that he needed to find someone who could edit videos, because he could no longer do it for side projects and stuff. He was trying to launch a second channel. I mentioned to him during one of our late night Hutball sessions, I was like, "Hey, like, I know how to video edit. I don't really do WoW videos that much anymore, but I've taught myself over the years." And he was like, "All right, well, just link me your channel, whatever." So I showed him, and by that point, my series had gotten well over a couple 100,000 views, lifetime. So he was like, "Dude, he's like, you should, these are real good." So
prior to that, let me ask you, because I think it's important. Prior to that, when you're part of his community, just hanging out, did you ever approach him to do anything or ask about collaborations or anything up until that point?
No, okay. Never. That was out of the question
I think that's super important to bring up, because what it sounds like you came up with a genuine connection to this guy, just hanging out, not wanting anything from this individual. Then all of a sudden opportunity presented itself. You're like, "Hey, I can do this." Right.
Yeah. That's how it started.
Yeah. I mean, but it, like, I'd imagine, and I say this just because there's just a lot of different ways to do things, but I imagine if maybe after a week in the guild, you'd be like, "Hey, you want to do a video together?" You're probably telling a different story right now. Do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah. Cause I never wanted them to, like, I wasn't even thinking about doing this as a job. I was just like, I'm just trying to help someone who I kind of idolize.
Yeah.
I was like, he's living the dream. He's living in Oregon. He's making StarCraft videos. He's making probably tons of money. I was like, I'm just happy to even be able to talk to him casually.
Yeah.
So, but it was actually, I did a couple of projects for him, and he was like, he could pick up on that I at least had some form of, I don't want to say talent, but public speaking skill, just from the way that I talked and everything. And
what kind of projects did you do for him specifically?
The biggest project I had to do was I had to color correct his girlfriend at the time. They just started dating. Her name is Rosanna Pansino, who's now, of course, huge on YouTube. She had a Nerdy Nummies video, one of the early ones. It was like Unicorn Cupcakes or something. And he needed me to color correct everything because their old editor completely messed it up. Something happened and it was screwed up, and then the editor quit. So he asked me, he's like, "Can you fix this?" I was like, "Yeah, I think so, but I'm gonna have to go through every scene, one scene at a time, and do like all the color correction because the entire episode was already rendered. This was after the fact, and they couldn't release it on YouTube in that state. So he paid me a couple $100 to. He was like, "Just if you can fix this, like that'd be awesome." And I was able to fix it. They put it up on YouTube, and everything was fine. It was around that time that he started to take interest in looking at actually like looking at the analytics of my Warcraft stuff on YouTube. And he talked to me about refining like presentation. He was like, "You should do YouTube because your editing is good enough and you have the skill on the microphone to be entertaining." Because he knew that by this time he kind of knew me, from being a bartender and being a DJ and that sort of thing. So he was like, "I think that you would be really good at this. You should just try it." So that was it. It was really down to that point in my life where Husky is the one who, and I still give him credit for. I give him all credit for everything that I do.
He believed in you.
He's the one who encouraged me to do it, and it was through him that I met guys like Krendor, like Jesse. I reconnected with TB through Husky.
Did he remember that game, or no? Was he like, "I don't remember that, dude"? Like the game that you got, the test game, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, TB remembered me. I mean, we kept in contact every now and then, but it wasn't anything particular. I did talk to him when I started working with Husky, because Husky actually had a deeper connection with John, and saved him from a really awful brand deal that would have taken like 60% of his of Total Biscuit's like revenue, like permanently. And that was all thanks to Husky, and that kind of I established common threads through that, and then that's how his name's Mike. That's how Mike and I just became closer, because he started helping me and guiding me through stuff. He was introducing me to people. You can find the first video I ever met Krendor on. It was a show match in Hearthstone, and I had never even heard of Krendor. I'd never met him before, and Husky was supposed to play Krendor in this just like startup series for a show match, but he couldn't do it at the last second. He's like, "Hey, can you take my spot for me?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." He's like, "All right, you're playing this guy named Krendor." I was like, "I don't know, I've never heard of WoW Krendor before." So, but he threw me in there, and I met Krendor. We instantly started recording, and I just act like I've known him forever. You can still find that if you look on YouTube for Sinvicta versus Krendor Hearthstone or something like that. That's literally the first time I've ever spoken to Krendor. But I knew that I had to make it seem organic, and that was kind of, through that experience, I started meeting more and more people. Mike was more comfortable in introducing me to bigger and bigger people. I made contacts with the game station who ended up turning out to be Polaris and all that stuff. So I learned the industry through Husky, and he essentially guided me through the early process. And then it was the reconnection with John, with TB, who was giving me advice, and he was paying attention to my videos, and he was like, teaching me about consistency, teaching me about presentation, professionalism, that sort of thing. So it all kind of conglomerated together to make what it is today, which is that I hold really, really high consistency as a staple for my stuff, and just doing it professional. I never felt the need to be unfiltered and swear and stuff. That was something that I knew that I needed to, if I wanted this to become serious, like I needed to act like I'm producing content for millions of people, even if no one's watching. Like, always present yourself as if you're talking to a huge audience, because you never know who might be listening at one point. So companies and sponsors and everything.
So during all this time, so you're producing all this stuff, and then so this is kind of in that 2-year gap. You're making all these kind of what we'll call them organic connections, but all very important for you, not only from connections, but also it sounds like from advice and things of that nature. And I feel like that's, without ever really having to talk about you with this stuff, that's my takeaway, is that like if you were to say, "Hey, what do you know about Sinvicta in terms of how I produce things?" I just know you as like a machine, meaning that, you know, whenever I look at your channel, it's like there's never a gap in like days, or, you know, there's just always content coming out. And so for you, was that inherent, or is that something you saw, hey, these guys who essentially I look up to are making it, tell me to do this, so that's why? Like, where does that fall for you in terms of how, because that's work, you know, anyone can tell you to do anything, but you put in so much work in your channel. How do you approach that on a day-to-day basis?
It's a little bit from both sides, because I didn't fully understand why I was being told that you just need to be consistent, but I knew that, like, I've always been a hard worker. I've been every kind of job you can think of. I've been an employee of at one point. Anything from a bartender and bouncer to, like, I was an actor in a haunted house for Halloween for a winter or fall. So I've always kind of just been, it might be the half Chinese blood or half Irish blood talking, but like I've always had a really strong work drive. Like, hey, even if you're not getting paid to something, if you're asked to do something, you do it right. You do it right from the start. You don't ask, you know, if I need help, don't be afraid to ask for it. But if you can perform it yourself, and you know that you're going to do a good job, you better do a good job. And that's how I kind of always approached YouTube with my work ethic, was just like, you know, I'm going to make sure that it sounds good, it looks as good as possible. You know, I'm gonna sort of project an air of professionalism and just stick with it, because there was I was and I'm not compromising in terms of confidence. Like, you know, I was like, okay, like, this is, whether or not this is what I'm supposed to do or not, I don't know. I just know that I like entertaining people and I like recording the videos. And just keep grinding, you know, really be a true rounder out there on YouTube.
So let me ask you this. So when you're grinding it out, and especially in the early days, even in this 2-year gap, you know, when you're not, you know, you're not making a ton of money at the beginning, but you're still working your face off. What, you know, did you have an end goal in mind? Where did you see this thing going? You know, I'm talking like in the early grind days when you're like, all right, hey, look, I'm putting out all these videos and I'm not making a ton of money.
Yeah, the only thing that I knew was that I didn't want to fix computers anymore. So okay. if I could do something, and I quit my full-time job to do this full-time, because I realized how much time this was going to take if I was going to do it my way, which is being ultra consistent. I don't know what games I'm going to be playing. I tried my hand at StarCraft commentary. That was a lot of fun. Heroes of the Storm came out.
Let me ask this real quick. When you decided to quit, were you making the equal amount of money that you were making at your computer? I saved
up $10,000 from my previous job as the IT manager, and I said, okay, like, I'm however long this 10 grand can last me. That took me a long time to save up.
Yeah.
But luckily, again, still taking care of my dad, I didn't have any bills, so it was easy for me to do it. But
I mean,
you know,
I don't know. I'd say easy. You know, like, I don't like.
Well, it was easy for me to save money.
Well,
not easy from like in terms of like the work, because I had no idea. I had no inclination of where this could possibly go. All I know is that I wanted to be or do what Husky was doing. I wanted to I see them being successful. I see John being successful. I'm like, okay, I think that I'd be able to be good at this. And with the skills that I learned from like social skills from bartending forever, like, I think I can do a good job with this. And I had the encouragement of Husky. And
right.
You know,
I would say, like, the decisions you're making. I mean, all right, hey, you saved up 10 grand, and the longer that lasts, the longer you have the opportunity to make YouTube videos. I'm guessing, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but decisions you're making on a daily basis on what you spend money on, I mean, is that going into your head, or just like, hey, I'm not spending any of it? You know,
it was bare like bare necessities.
Yeah, that's really not easy. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, yeah, it's easy. But like most people, like I guess what I'm trying to lead to is that you had a goal in mind and you're willing to sacrifice a lot to do it. You know, I don't know how old you were at the time or anything like that, but you know, you're making, you know, you're taking care of your dad. You leave your job, and it's like, you know, all these things that you've done, and I think it talks about like your characters. You know, you're not a boastful guy, but that's what I'm here for. I'm gonna boast about you. He's like, look, nothing was promised to you. You got that 10 grand in the bank, which is a lot of money, but how long can you stretch that without, you know, working, not making a ton of money on YouTube, but you still kept at it, man. I mean, and now it's like, when did you, all right, I want to fast forward just here. When did you start to see like the first maybe bump or first bit of gas from your YouTube channel? Like, oh man, this huge gamble or this huge sacrifice is starting to pay off.
It was in 2014 with Heroes of the Storm.
I love that. That's, you know, exactly when it was, you know, so tell me what happened.
It was the big moments. Well, I want to back up just a second, because the only thing I knew at the time, the only goal in mind was that I was going to make this happen. Like, I don't care. I received a lot of resistance, especially from family, because it's perceived like you're just up there recording, like you're not doing it. I'm just playing video games and getting more out of shape and eating like garbage, you know. But that was really before I had a true understanding of how to make money on YouTube, because I was just, all I know is that somehow the ads work and that's it. I was like, I'm making I remember the first time I got $100 check, I broke that threshold back in the AdSense program. And I talked to Husky, and I was like, I was going crazy. I showed my mom, and she was all excited. She was like, but $100 isn't a whole lot of money, you know. And she wasn't doing it to be a detractor. She was just making sure that I stayed focused and say, like, you know, that's great that you're making $100 for this, but you do this constantly, you know, like you've been at it for a while now. So that was the first. I was like, okay, so I knew that I was going to make this work in one way or another, whether it broke me or I had to move in with somebody else to make it happen. I was like, this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but 2014 was definitely the pivotal year. That's when Heroes of the Storm Alpha started. I think Alpha may have started at the end of 2013, but 2014 is the big year, because by this point, through Husky, I had made all the connections that I needed on YouTube. I was able to collab with huge people. Like I was playing with Dyrus. I was playing with all the big streamers like JP, and just people who were aware of Heroes of the Storm. I reconnected again with John, who he was planning on doing a huge thing for Heroes of the Storm. And through him, I met contacts at Blizzard. It was through Husky and through TB.
So when you do, when you do these collaborations, are you like, how do you go about, what's the execution of that? Do you like casually say, hey, like, I know you're playing this, do you want to do a video? As some come to you? Because I feel like that's always, you know, so Heroes of the Storm runs around, you have people in, you know, that you've made connections with over the past couple of years that are playing it. Where does that gap go from you being friends or connections to, hey, let's do a video on this?
It was kind of like they were already recording and they needed someone else to play.
Okay.
And I was always bottom of the barrel because people knew me, but like I'm not. Yeah, I was just someone who was available. I was just another person who, like, he's got a, you know, he's able to play. I remember him. Let's play, sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
So
but
so
to you, that's a huge deal. To them, you know, maybe.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I understood the gravity of the situation, but I'm also, if I pat myself in the back for one thing, is that I'm extremely efficient at social networking,
mm-hmm.
at meeting people and making contacts and stuff. So I knew how to naturally.
But I would say, like, some people will hear that and be like, but like you do it in a normal, I would say normal, an organic way where it's not like forced or like, you know what I mean? It's not. I think it's part of any business, but even in this too, it's you have to know people, but then people, you know, like I'm sure there's people you've met that you don't do stuff with because it may not be the best fit, you know, but it's just, I just feel like when you hear networking, people will like may shrug at that, but it's such a big
an LA sounding thing.
Yeah, but it's not like you say, I mean, it's important, but it just, when it happens naturally, you know, and it's not forced, and it's not you looking for something.
I never treat it as a commodity, if that's the best
like
way
you're
to say
looking
it.
for something from someone else.
I was just like, I'm meeting all these people, and they're huge, they're big time streamers, they're big time YouTubers. It's cool. Like I'm honored to even be able to talk to these guys sometimes. You know, but I never let that, I never saw that as like an angle. I was like, okay, I need to just kind of slide in here, like, you know, I got to make myself seem quirky or cool, sort of thing. I was just like, I'm good at talking to people from a first impression to knowing them for, you know, over a decade.
Yeah.
And it was when around that time, my channel was known as I had a very popular series called Solo Queue Silliness, where it was literally just me casting my own games while I was playing live and just showing how ridiculously bad some of my teams were. But that's really where I got to kind of keep my commentary game sharp. And and I was having fun. I was having fun in Heroes, and it all became, for the first time in 3 years, it became real for my dad. When I got flown out, Blizzard paid me to do the official Heroes of the Storm launch in 2014. They paid me to fly out to LA. We went to the YouTube space. They had a huge grandiose setup, and that's when things started becoming a little bit more real for my dad. He was like, he realized I'm not BSing about this. I am
Yeah.
working, because he was like, someone's paying you, like a company, like an actual company's paying you to fly to Los Angeles to open a game. Like companies do that.
Yeah, no, that's a
And I'm
big
like,
deal. And
he wasn't saying it to be, again, as a detractor, but he doesn't he never really understood what I did. All he saw was me just not going to the gym, eating like garbage, and playing video games. That's all he knew that I was doing.
no, well,
In his mind.
no, that has to be like a super memorable moment. Plus, to have like your family understand. But I want to double back when you're doing the solo queue stuff. Roughly for context, so like, if you had to guess, what kind of views are you getting per those videos before you start collaborating with other people? Because I'm just trying to lead us up to the point where like the difference happens.
Yeah, not non-collab videos.
Yeah.
The solo queues, they're averaging about like 2,000 to 2,500 views. So for a small channel, that's excellent.
Yeah. And then
And
what would be like a collaboration that you put on?
For Heroes,
yeah.
for Heroes, my first big video, I got official okay from Blizzard to post the whole stream VOD of the launch event.
Okay.
So they allowed me. They said if you edit it down and don't include any of the spoiler stuff for the new characters and whatnot, like, they gave me permission to put on YouTube. And that's when I got to share pictures of me going down there, and that's how I met Matt Sohinki, who from Smosh Gaming's. And so I met Michelle Morrow for the very first time. So and building a rapport with her was awesome too, because Michelle is someone else who I had known of but I'd never met. And it just so happened that Jesse.
Can you give us a quick Reader's Digest? I'm not unfamiliar with who she is, and there may be other people listening who are unfamiliar.
So Michelle Morrow she's the very pretty blonde lady who presents every single BlizzCon from the start.
Okay, got it. Okay.
So she does the DirecTV hosting and emceeing with other people, and she's voiced a couple characters for the Warcraft universe, specifically the Huntress. I forget her name. For Hearthstone, she did the entire voice lines for her. So she's pretty connected and basically a Blizzard employee.
Got it. So you get this video edited, you put it up, the VOD. What kind of numbers does that one do?
That one, I think that was one of the first videos that I had that did like over like 20,000 views.
Okay.
And I was like, man, that's incredible. And I maintained a good rapport with Blizzard throughout the entire time, because like that I've always understood like how important and how thankful I should be for getting to do stuff like that. It may not be seem like a big deal for other people, but I understood the value of what someone offers me if they give me permission to do something like that. Or
yeah,
I know
you have access.
I understand the value of
other people
of
don't
being
have.
able to. Yeah. I understand the value of me being able to rub elbows with huge YouTubers and streamers, and realize that there are literally millions of people who would kill to be in that same position. So I didn't want to ever give up the opportunity that Husky gave me, and then later on down the road, the what TB introduced me to and everything. So that was really the driving motivation, was that I have to make this work, not only for me, but also not to throw away the opportunity that Husky gave me from way back in the day. He really stuck his neck out for me. I was doing stuff for Bronze League Heroes, which ended up being his biggest series. And he would always give me a shout out. He would direct people to my channel. And I mean, you have to, again, in 2012, you got to remember that StarCraft is absolutely massive. It is the esport, period.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone like Husky with his stature to give you a shout out and to promote your channel, there are, again, literally millions of people that would have loved to have been that guy, so I felt like there's a certain urgency of it doesn't matter how long it takes, but you got to make this work, because this is a once in a lifetime thing that if you squander this, if you end up getting lazy about this, you're throwing it all away, and you're really disrespecting someone as in the business as high up as Husky and Total Biscuit. You're throwing away the opportunity that they gave you, and that is a once in a lifetime thing, because there are tons of people who would love to do that. So that's really always been the driving motivator. I guess I could have summarized the first 30 minutes of this show by just saying
that's why I'm going to keep cutting you off, just because I do think there's a lot of gaps we got to get to. So and it's a lot of it is just maybe explaining or find out deeper. But so you got Heroes of the Storm rolling, and then all of a sudden, you start bringing Isaac to the channel. And then, because it's been a very successful series for you. I mean, you're talking two different worlds. You're going from Blizzard to an independent game that really there isn't a whole lot of connection to, or even from like an audience standpoint. I don't want to lump people in audiences, but people that are watching StarCraft and Heroes of the Storm and WoW, there's probably not a 1-to-1 ratio of audience transfer. So,
there's no overlap at all.
So Isaac, why does that come to your channel? What makes you start that? I think 5 years ago. I'm looking at your videos now.
I've always been a huge fan of a guy named Lethal Frag on Twitch, and he would always play this game called Isaac, and I was like, it looked like one of those like want to be shock value just because it's gross and it's dealing with religious stuff, like, ooh, look how edgy, whatever. But I love the gameplay of it. And so that made me look up videos on YouTube, and I discovered a guy named Northern Lion. And this guy plays Isaac like every single day, and he's getting crazy amounts of views, but he was genuinely entertaining and very charismatic. And I was like, I feel like I'm not going to be able to compare myself to NL, but I never ever try to be like somebody. I never try to compare myself to anybody, because it's not going to work. And my philosophy is that, like, if you set the bar based on someone else's high or based on someone else's like guidelines, you're never going to reach it, because it's not your bar. You're emulating someone who you want to be, and that's impossible to do, in my opinion. You shouldn't. Any set of values or whatever or goals shouldn't be set by someone else's standards. You should set what's within your own reach.
So what did you take from Ryan or from Northern Lion that pushed you or said, hey, I can do this, I can do my own take on it? What did you specifically take from it that you like would keep in the back of your mind?
If you're good enough at the game, and if you're charismatic enough to hold the audience's attention, you can really do anything.
Okay,
is what I got from that. And especially like a game like Isaac, which doesn't necessarily present all of a whole lot of talking points for most of the episode. The stream and consciousness commentary was something that really intrigued me, and learning and just watching NL for like a year or two before I actually ever met him. That picking up on how he delivers a lot of his lines. And just seeing his work ethic too. I was like, this guy's putting out an Isaac video a day. Like, that's not easy to do. I was like, I want to start doing that. But to go back to what you were talking about with the audience and stuff, Isaac was absolutely doing dog awful on my channel. It was driving people away. It was causing people to unsubscribe from my channel, because we're talking like thousands of views for Here's the Storm to maybe 100 views for Isaac.
So why did you keep going?
Because I love the game.
Okay.
I fell in love with the game, and I was like, I'm gonna make this work. I called it back. I famously called it back in the day my vacation game, because Here's the Storm started getting to the point where the solo queue stuff was really bumming me out.
Like you were just getting like it wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah, because I mean the matchmaking was awful. The game was frustrating. Balance changes, blah blah blah, and I was like, thank God I get to play something other than Heroes. But at the time, I was still doing a daily solo queue silliness for Heroes, because like I felt like I had to, and that's where I think a lot of content creators get in trouble, is when you feel like you're getting strong armed by the game that kind of like got
put
a little
you
bit
on.
Of buzz.
Yeah.
Like you start to feel resentful towards that game, and that's where me and Hear the Storm started to kind of really break up, because I was like, I just want to play. I don't care what it is. I just want to play something other than Heroes of the Storm. And Isaac became a game that I was like, I very quickly became pretty knowledgeable about, and I wasn't very good at, but I was just enjoying playing.
Mm-hmm.
And taking cues from Ryan was a big that was a big turning point as well. That's another turn in the channel's history, and learning how to hold an audience's attention without being douchey, without being, you're allowing yourself to be charismatic. Now, I knew that I wasn't going to like swear or anything like back in the day when Ryan used to, but I never treated that as a negative toward when I look at someone else's channel. I just said that, okay, so what are the things I want to do? What are the things I don't want to do? One of the things I don't want to do is I just don't want to swear, just because that's sort of been my thing now.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan showed me that you can do other stuff that didn't have to be multiplayer games or esports related and be hugely successful. And I was like, man, if I could just do the same numbers I was doing on Heroes, but with this game, with the Binding of Isaac, that's like I'm set after that. Like, I don't care what happens, because I love playing this game. I think that I could be good at it, and that's really that's really another key moment, was that. And ironically, to end the ramble, Husky for the longest time was telling me to stop producing Isaac. He's like, you have to stop putting out Isaac videos. It's trash. It's causing people to leave your channel. He's like, he treated it as like an emergency. He's like, he was showing me analytics and statistics on subs and unsubs whenever an Isaac video would come out. He's like, you are losing subs. Like your valleys, as he called them, are getting deeper and deeper every time you put out an Isaac video. It's like, you have to stop. And for the first time ever, I disobeyed whatever he was telling me. I was like, I don't care, just because like I need to have a vacation game, dude. Like Heroes is bumming me out. Hearthstone is bumming me out.
I got it.
And that was the only real friction that I had with Husky, but he was doing it not as a command.
Yeah, no, he's looking out for it, trying doing what
he was like, dude, you gotta stop, man. Isaac's killing your channel.
All right, so we're gonna hit to like a rapid fire question portion of this because it's gone a little over, but it's good. It's good.
Yeah, sorry for it's just weird because like I don't do these kind of shows, so like, it's weird to relive everything, so I don't mean to ramble.
No, that's what it's about, but also I think there's like a lot of things you're talking about that are like either that I think are really intriguing that you may gloss over. So I just like, if I cut you off, it's because like stuff you're saying is like, man, we got to find out why. So
yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So for you, you've been doing this for a very long time, over 120,000 subscribers. When you first, quick question, what tells you when to stop a series internally? If like someone's listening right now, they're like, hey, what makes Sinvicta end a series?
When I'm not having fun with the game.
What if it's doing really well?
It doesn't matter. I killed my Hearthstone series because I hated the game.
Okay. When you kill
it was still doing good numbers.
When you kill a series, how do you tell people, or is it just gone forever? How do you?
I'm very upfront with people. I say, hey, I'm just not having fun with the game anymore. I don't think that is entertaining for anyone, and I'm not very good at faking emotion, faking like I'm still having fun. So I've always been open and honest with my audience.
Okay. What series do you have going on right now that you're most fired up about?
Besides Isaac, I don't really know. I was hoping that Hades was going to do well, but it didn't really do all that well. Lobotomy Corporation has sort of become my second signature game, I guess, because no one really plays that game, and I'm pretty happy to have started season 5 on that, but. It's a tough game to watch from a viewer side if you don't know what's going on. But I'm going into the 5th season now of the game, so I'm excited to finally see the true ending for this game. That's what I'm working on right now.
Got it. And when you say a series like Hades and it doesn't do well, what does that mean to you at this moment in YouTube? Like, what is it? What tells you it's not doing well?
Other than the views and the likes and stuff, just the general comments from people. I don't reply to stuff, but I read every single comment that's ever been written on any of my videos, and just gauging the overall attitude and the overwhelming sort of point that my audience was making was that it's like Isaac except flashier, and there's less explanations on what's going on. Like there's too much. It's almost too flashy in a way. I'm speaking specifically for Hades. So and I was having fun with the game, but I kind of knew that it probably wasn't going to be a long-term goal. series, you know. So some people are disappointed that it didn't continue, but you know, it's like, okay, well, I'll keep working hard to find another game. You know, 60 Seconds Reatomize is a lot of fun, but I don't see that series becoming an actual like long play series yet. So
Got it. So you got
yeah.
so you have Isaac consistently going, and then you know you're sampling new stuff and seeing, all right, does this work? Let's give it a shot, see if it works. If it doesn't, cool. If not, no big deal. Find the next game. What are your thoughts on Twitch, and what's your approach to Twitch? Because right now, if you were to say, all right, this is how much time I devote to YouTube a day, what is that like hour number, or you could give it to a weekly number first.
I don't really know the numbers, but like as far as percentage of effort
Yeah.
and time spent, I'd say it's like 60-40 Twitch, or 60-40 YouTube,
Okay.
40% for Twitch. But I mean, Twitch is a nice escape from YouTube, because I get to talk with people in real time, and the overflow from me saying, you know, hey, by the way, I'm going live today, or people learning my schedule on social media coming over from YouTube to Twitch is really cool, because they're like, oh my god, I get to watch this live. But it's like it's a part of their daily routine. The people who make Isaac part of their daily ritual, almost, they get to experience it live, and they're like, it's so weird to hear you talk and like reply to something I say like in real time, sort of thing. So it's a neat like diversion from the usual YouTube stuff. But you know, maintaining both is still my job and my top priority. And I try not to do too much overlapping stuff. I make sure that if I do put up a YouTube VOD or a Twitch VOD on YouTube, that I let people know ahead of time. And like, if I know I'm going to do some live recordings, I'll tell YouTube like, hey, just to let you know, this video is going to be in 720p because I'm streaming it live. But as a compromise, I make sure that I turn off all the bells and whistles, all the alerts and stuff. So, you know, that way the YouTube audience, they're not taken out of their immersion of watching a YouTube video, but the live chat knows that I'm still there, and I'm still answering questions and stuff. So
Got it.
They're both are almost equally as important to me.
Okay. And then in the new year, do you set any goals or any you know, things you want to hit when the new year? Or are you not that type of individual?
Not numbers wise, but my goal this year is to buy a house and move in, and just increasing my work production and workload, because I'll be able to work whenever it's convenient for me, and I'll also be able to start getting back in shape and eating right, because I don't have to worry about waking dad up at, like, you know, if I want to work out at like midnight, which would be a good time for me right now, I don't have to worry about waking him up and stuff, you know. So I guess the overall goal for 2020 is you know, buying my first ever house and getting back in shape, really just getting healthier again. And really fine tuning the work production. So it's this year I'm super. It's the first time I've been optimistic for an entire year, and I'm looking forward to it.
Got it. Okay, and then final question. There's a young Sinvicta listening right now, you know, and you know, fast forward 10 years, you have a lot of knowledge, a lot of work under your belt, a lot of experience, things you've learned. If you could tell a young Sinvicta, or not even a young someone who's like you right now that hasn't started, and you could tell them one thing to help them get started, your single greatest nugget of information, what would you tell them?
Consistency is the key. Consistency, that will create all opportunities that you will require to do this for a living. And if you work hard enough, people will eventually pick up on it. And also, don't eat so much junk food.
All right, Sinvicta, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you on the internet? What's your schedule like? People that like to dial in, what can they expect to see? Now's the time to link it up so people that have enjoyed you on the podcast can now then find you in an easily found format, so they can.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. I appreciate you having me on. Sorry it took so long. You can find me. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/Invicta316. My Twitch channel is twitch.tv/Invicta. I stream weekly, Wednesday through Saturday, starting at 5 p.m. Central, which is 6 p.m. Eastern and 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We go from 5 to 9. But I usually do late night streams as well, which is all usually music and me just playing Monster Hunter or something like that. And if you are interested in checking out some of my band stuff, you can go to sinvicta.bandcamp.com. I'm currently still with the same metal band. Me and my partner Mark are all partner as in like the songwriting sense. We're still writing new stuff and going back and re-recording stuff. You can go find that on our Bandcamp. It's totally free. And yeah, and I'm on Patreon as well, patreon.com/Invicta. I'm about to revamp that entire thing, but we're still going to be focusing on band stuff for anyone who contributes to that. And yeah, it's been an honor, man. Thanks for having me, Dan. It was great to catch up with you.
Dude, Sinvicta, thank you so much for coming on. And I look forward to watching you throughout the next year and watch you continue to grow, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
All right, later, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, Sinvicta, hope you guys enjoyed it. It's good to be back with an interview. You know, we talk about 2020, things going on. The goal is you know, to continue to bring interviews, to get to know people's stories, how they got to where they are, and you know, their struggles along the way. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you guys next Monday for another fresh one. Thanks so much for being here.